Hello everyone and welcome to part 6 of the Red Pill Grief Cycle. So I always knew that I was going to return to this series because there's always more to talk about, but I just didn't know where to go. But something occurred to me fairly recently that I get a lot of questions about people who lose their motivation, or they feel like they're on this path, they feel like they're self-actualized, they should be happy, perhaps they were happy previously, and they're just no longer happy. They're no longer motivated. And they, ask my advice, like, did I do something wrong? Am I on the wrong path? Was I incorrect about my meaning and purpose? I just don't feel happy or fulfilled anymore. What's wrong with me? And so this is where this video is coming from. So we're going to talk about something called the hedonic treadmill. Never heard of it? Essentially, it's a psychological phenomenon where the human mind adapts to whatever situation it's put in. If you're put in a very horrible situation, your mind will adapt to that situation. What would initially be very horrible becomes normal. The same is true when you're in a very positive, beneficial, happy situation. Your mind will normalize whatever situation you're in, and you'll settle at kind of a baseline level of happiness. So imagine if you won the lottery. Initially, you'd be very happy. But let's say you won so much money that you'd never have to work again, and you've put stuff in investments, and you've traveled the world, and you've bought all this expensive stuff, and you're living in a big house, and you have everything you ever want. Eventually, you'd stop being happy. You'd return to that level of happiness that you had before you were rich. All the stuff you acquired, all the experiences you've had wouldn't change who you were. And eventually, being rich would become your new normal. And then, if you were an unhappy person before, you'd be unhappy again. And if you were a happy person before, you'd be happy again. But the stuff, the momentary happiness that acquiring a bunch of stuff gives you is ultimately meaningless. Ultimately, we need to have a meaning and a purpose which carries us through and gives us something beyond emotional happiness. Living for emotional happiness is like living your life trying to chase women. There's a saying, and I'm not sure if it's a common saying, but basically, if you prioritize money over women, if you focus on making money instead of chasing pussy, you will have plenty of both, because women are attracted to guys with money. However, if you chase women, rather than saving, investing, and building wealth, you're going to have neither women nor money. So it's one of these weird kind of things where if you understand how things work, it makes sense, but on the surface, it almost seems like a paradox. You would think that whatever you prioritize, you should acquire. But in truth, just like, how chasing pussy can lead to neither and chasing money will lead to both, chasing happiness leads to neither meaning, purpose, or happiness. You'll find that your life will be hedonistic and unfulfilling and miserable. But if you chase after meaning and purpose, you'll find happiness. It's just one of those paradoxical things. But it's important to note that the emotional high of being happy is temporary, as all emotions are. Think about a relationship. When you first start that relationship, you're super lovey-dovey in love, you're having sex all the time, it's just great. After a couple months, maybe a year if you're lucky, those feelings start to fade. They start to be replaced with a more normal mindset. In the Greek language, they have different words for love. This is where the eros kind of love, the romantic, passionate kind of love, gets replaced with a philia or even a pragma kind of love. There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, this is where, long-term stable relationships are born. You don't have a long-term stable relationship based entirely off of sexual passion. You have a long-term stable relationship based on mutual benefit, a feeling of belonging, family, and so forth. In the very same way, the emotional highs of happiness are temporary, just like eros, that passionate, sexual kind of love between men and women. What you want is meaning and purpose to give your life stability. But that also means that there will be times where the emotional high of happiness will ebb and flow. So here are some techniques that you might want to think about if you're in kind of a rut. But the most important thing I want to communicate is it's okay to not always be happy. You could be living the best life you've ever lived. You may be fulfilling the meaning and purpose that you've sought for, and there's nothing wrong in your life, and for whatever reason, you're just not particularly happy that day, and there's nothing wrong with that. So don't always worry about the emotional high of feeling happy 24/7. That's not going to happen. It's not realistic. The human mind adapts to whatever it's experiencing and normalizes it. Even the most amazing experiences can become mundane if you experience them every day. It's just the human brain normalizing its experiences. But here are some techniques that may help you kind of either step off the hedonic treadmill or simply cope with it and maybe find a sliver of happiness and get out of a rut if you're in one. But ultimately, I think the actual cure for the hedonic treadmill is simply to accept that it's okay not to be happy all the time, to continue to live the best life and, savor the little moments. But here are some techniques. Number one, plan for simple pleasures throughout your day. So whatever you enjoy doing, taking a hot shower just to feel clean, working out, listening to good music, hanging out with friends, simple everyday things, make sure that you prioritize those things. Don't necessarily live for them, but be mindful of them, schedule them, prioritize them. Number two, rotate around what you find pleasurable and what gives you happiness. Maybe you're simply burnt out on something that you've done too much, which gave you a lot of happiness initially, but now you're just kind of sick of it. You may notice I do this a lot on my own channel. I'll make a certain kind of video or a certain thing, and then I'll just stop, and then I'll come back to it later. Because I get bored doing the same thing all the time, and I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. If you enjoy and get pleasure from many things, it's okay to mix things up once in a while. If you only have one or two things that give you pleasure, try to find more things, and then you won't get burned out. You'll be able to take a break from these one or two things that perhaps give you the most pleasure, just to give them a rest, and then, go do something else for a while, and then when you come back to them, you'll enjoy them again. So just keep your things kind of rotating, keep things fresh, and don't get burned out. Number three, make time for yourself to do something fun. It sounds obvious, but if you're not having fun, even if you have a very meaningful job that you enjoy, I love my job. I love making content and hanging out with people and talking to them and helping them. But sometimes you just got to do something for yourself. You just got to unplug from everything, turn off your smartphone, log off your computer and go do something by yourself that you enjoy. Even though you also enjoy your job, you also enjoy doing other things, you just need to get away from it all. I've seen a lot of YouTubers who basically quit YouTube for a couple weeks, a couple months, or maybe a couple years. And it's because they didn't take time for themselves while they were making content. Instead of waiting until you're completely burnt out and you got to completely walk away from it, maybe one day a week, just walk away from it and do something simple for a couple hours that you enjoy by yourself, for yourself. If you do something all the time, no matter how much you love it, it's going to burn you out. So just walk away. Find something to do. Unplug, unwind, relax. Another thing that might help you is to make time for others. Sometimes we get so tunnel visioned in our own lives, focused on our own dreams and our own goals, that it almost becomes a form of burnout in and of itself. And so the best way to get away from it isn't to get away from one or two activities, but to get away from ourselves. So maybe focusing on someone else, trying to help them, reaching out, helping them with their meaning and purpose, whatever's, hurting them or whatever is bothering them, help them on their journey. Don't even think about yourself. Put yourself aside for just a minute, focus on them. And that, just like letting your hobbies take a breather for a while, maybe letting your journey take a breather for a while is exactly what you need. Focus on someone else's journey. Help them along. Show that you care about them. And the best part is, not only will this help you, when you go back to focusing on your own stuff, not only will it allow you to have greater focus and greater passion because you got away from it for a few minutes and you're not burned out on it anymore, but if you genuinely care about someone, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that you cared about them and you helped them along. And then if you need someone, they'll be there for you. So it helps you make social connections and make friends and care about people, in addition to stepping away from yourself, allowing your own journey, your own meaning and purpose to just take a breather in case you're on that hedonic treadmill and you need to get away from it for a minute. So there's a lot of benefits to just kind of letting that go for a while, focusing on someone else, helping them, and then once they've been helped, maybe go back to yourself and then kind of see where things are. If you're still feeling burnt out, you really don't want to work on your own shit for a while, then help someone else. Keep helping people until maybe you're a little burned out on helping other people, then go back to your own stuff. And then you'll notice that it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. You're actually excited. You're motivated to continue your own journey. The next piece of advice sounds really simple and really obvious, but show appreciation and acknowledge what's right in your life. Far too often, we only focus on the negatives. The things which are going good in our life, we just kind of take them for granted. And we focus on solving the problem in front of us. But if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling unmotivated, if you're feeling depressed, maybe take a moment and appreciate everything that's great in your life. Everything you appreciate. And make a list. Write it down. If there's someone in your life you appreciate, make sure they know that they're appreciated. If there's, if you really love your job, tell your boss or whatever. If you're self-employed, I don't know, give yourself a pat on the back. Show appreciation for what you have, and you'll just feel better. First of all, a lot of people like being appreciated and knowing that what they're doing is noticed and appreciated. So showing appreciation to others is just a good habit to be in, but you should also carry that through to your own life. Be appreciative of your own work, the things you've done, the things you've accomplished. Don't be afraid to celebrate your victories. And if you do that, maybe that'll help you break out of this hedonic treadmill. You'll feel better, you'll feel less burnt out, you'll be able to appreciate your accomplishments and move forward, or, use one of the other things I've mentioned. And the last piece of advice is to appreciate and understand that you're not going to be happy all the time. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. Maybe by getting out of your comfort zone, you make a new friend, you pick up a new hobby, you find something new that excites you and makes you feel happy and motivated again. But if none of that happens, just understand that it's normal to not be happy all the time. Nobody is happy all the time. And that's okay. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope that some of these steps might help you maybe recapture that motivation or that happiness, or reprioritize how you think about happiness. I would advise you not to seek after happiness as an end in and of itself, but to seek after meaning and purpose, and the happiness will follow. As you achieve goals, as you fulfill your meaning and purpose, you will feel happy. So this is Turd Flinging Monkey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. It's the brand new book Sweet Corn and Ass, written by TF Monkey with illustrations by Kibo. Meet Mr. Monkey and his pal, Mr. Cat, as they discuss anal sex. That's right, this is a children's book about anal sex. Don't actually give it to children. It's Sweet Corn and Ass. Available at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle ebook.